Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host and special guest, Franco Burrows. Franco, thanks for being back, man.
Great to be here.
Yep, we just finished up with an alpha reset in the UK. 9 men's lives forever changed. So exciting. I know Tim and Arthur and Lee, Jack, and the rest of the men and Stuart are heading back home to their families, as well as these other 9 men. Absolutely phenomenal to see the results coming through.
Yeah, I'm friends with most of the guys on Facebook, and I've just seen one of them put up a post, just a spontaneous post, and you just know he's never going to be the same again. That's it.
Never.
And it's always so good to hear all the stories coming out about what the breakthroughs were, and yeah, amazing. Men's lives changed, families' lives changed, everything.
It's great. Well, as you know, I'm hosting one here in Central Oregon coming up. First time we've done one in this area in December. Will be the last one, we believe, of the year. And we already got a full house set up for that. So absolutely amazing. Excited. So, Mr. Franco Fire, what do we have on tap for today, my friend?
We have got being best friends with your wife.
Ooh.
And the reason why I presented this topic is because so many of the men have this in their, we have various initial conversations. Sometimes it's a phone call. Generally, guys fill in a form. So we've got an idea of what their biggest challenge is and what their desired goal is, what they want to experience more of in their marriage. And a lot of the men say, I want to be best friends with my wife. I want to get back to being best friends because we used to be best friends, or I want to feel that we are best friends. And I just thought it'd be good to have a discussion about it, because maybe there's some detail and some insights we can add in there around what it actually looks like to be best friends with your wife in a healthy way.
Yeah.
And how we can sort of misinterpret it or have missing pieces in what a best friend's relationship looks like with your wife, as opposed to, say, a best friend with your best friend who's not your wife,
Sure. I love this. So what's your take on the topic, Franco?
Well, my take on it is that it's just as I alluded to there, is that, and I have to say, a lot of people in successful relationships do say this, he's my best friend or she's my best friend. So I think there's a lot of truth in that a successful relationship is like a great friendship. So I think the first distinction to make is that it's not quite enough, even if you are best friends, because we get a lot of guys say, look, we get different, all kinds of different men coming to us. Some are saying we're fighting nonstop. We are, always arguing. It's always blowing up. There's this going on. There's that going on. But some men come to us and say, well, actually, we're still like best friends. We get on fine. But, what's missing is the connection, the sexual connection, the polarity, the excitement. We've become roommates, and some people are bad roommates, some people are good roommates, but even the good roommates, there's something missing.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that as well?
Absolutely, man. I think most of the men that go through the program would say at one time or another their wife was their best friend, right? Now, they may have gotten away from that, right, because of fighting and bickering. And we talk a lot about the idea of the scales, right? If you picture a beam scale, when you first start dating, the positive vibes or positive experiences grossly outweigh the negative ones, right? So that's why you can get away with so much stuff, right? She farts in front of you, you fart in front of her, you kind of giggle it off, and it's no big deal. Over time, the scale switches, and the negative feelings and the negative experiences, and we call mud on the glass, that starts to accumulate, and the scale switches. Now the negative feelings and experiences far outweigh the positive ones. So your friendship, this can happen with guys and their friendships, right? I mean, we both, I'm sure, have male friendships that have dissipated over time. And, when this happens, obviously the sex in the bedroom dries up. Bedroom becomes a desert for most of the guys. Or if it hasn't, it's just not as pleasurable or passionate as it could be in there. So I think this happens for most guys. And we talk about the roommate situation, guys. I mean, picture yourself to take your wife out of the situation. Now imagine you just have a roommate. It's a dude, and you guys are close. It's your college roommate, right? Your boy from college. He's our university. He now lives with you, and over time, you guys stop hanging out. You stop talking as much. It kind of gets boring. Maybe you sit on the couch and watch some Netflix. He's not getting you up to get a beer. He's not massaging your shoulders or anything. Over time, it just gets boring, and you have no new things to share with each other. And I think, Franco, that's where it starts to get dangerous, so to speak, is when you rely on your wife, right, to fill your cup. And that's where I think the disconnection happens. I think a lot of guys think my wife's my best friend, therefore I'm going to share with her when I'm depressed, lonely, sad, all the bad things that are going on. I'm going to dump all my baggage onto her, and now she's going to fix it all, like my mommy used to.
Yes. And my mother didn't used to fix it like that, but I think for me, it's the distinction is that you can't, the differences between men and women, and you can't be, it's not that you should be guarded around your partner, but there is certain depths you don't need to go into with your pain and your struggles, because your job is to keep her safe and feeling good about life and what's going on. And you can share your fears and frustrations and pain with a close, trusted man friend in a way that you just couldn't with your partner. And you definitely need to show her who you really are. She wants to feel the real you, but that doesn't mean you treat each other the same. Your best friend, your best male friend, and her. I mean, I'll give you an example. I had this misconception myself, and I remember saying this to my partner at the time, saying, we're not best friends. I don't feel like we're friends, And then she, as women do, she had a conversation with one of her friends about it, and one of her friends said, "Yeah, but he's meant to be your lover. You're meant to be lovers." Okay. So then is the whole thing of, are you a friend? Are you friends or lovers? And I know you've spoken about this. I think you were talking about this in the Rainmaker group, about the way you want to date your wife is you want to be like the other guy, the lover, but then there will be times when you are friends and you're just looking after each other. You're just being there for each other. You're just spending time together. Okay. And enjoying that, not really thinking about sex or the man-woman thing. So I think it's actually both. And for some men, we do get some men coming to us, and they don't. We talk a lot about sex, but as well as I do that it's not really the sex. It's even for men, it's the connection that we want, and we tend to get that through the physical. Okay, but I mean, have you got any thoughts on that?
No, I agree with you. Well, I think this goes wrong. In fact, I was talking to one of our guys in the Brotherhood about this yesterday. And kind of the idea that happens. The Brotherhoods are one of our 1-year mastermind groups that for guys that graduate the activation method. In case people listening don't know what I'm talking about here, but I was talking to him, and what was happening for him is he and his wife just spending all their time together. Just all their time. And Chris Rock has got a great bit. I talk about it a lot in the podcast. I'm going to post it in the Facebook group as soon as we finish this, Franco. So guys, we pre-record these, so this will come out next week. So search the Facebook group, and it's on long relationships. And I can't do Chris Rock any justice, but essentially what he says is, you get to the point where you're looking at that person and you just want to kill him, right? You're like, just go get kidnapped, have something new happen to you. Right? There's no more mystery. When you first started dating, which is the other end of the extreme, there was tons of mystery. You didn't know what she was doing on Friday night if she wasn't with you. You didn't know what her work life was like. And for most guys, they're now coming home. Hey, how was your day? And instead of talking about all the great things that happen, they dump all the shit, right? Yes. Here's all the bad things that happened. And then it becomes, why didn't you cook dinner? Why didn't you take out the trash? Negative, negative, negative. Again, going back to that scales. They start stacking on those negative feelings. And this is where men and women start to feel like roommates, and not even good ones, right? Not even fun. They still love each other. The love is still there for most of them, not all. Some,
trust me, I have been there. I've been there big time.
Me too, buddy. People ask how I can speak to this so clearly. It's because I've done this, guys. I've also got to the other side of this. And that's what we're talking about, right? The other side of this is having my wife as my best friend and having male best friends, right? Having men like the guys in the brotherhood, Franco, guys in the inner circle that I can speak with. So I'm not reliant. So I'm not pressure. My wife, I've heard this before, Franco. My wife felt the pressure of having to be there for me, the pressure of taking care of me in social situations to make sure I was okay, et cetera, right? And I found this out only afterwards, right? During that time, because I put so much, my eggs in one basket, so to speak, and I think a lot of guys do, where their wife becomes their everything, their confidant, and they start to seek their wife out to fill their cup, which is the analogy that we use, right? I'm down, so pick me up, so to speak. And that's not sexy. Every once in a while, for sure, you're sick or down, but that becomes habitual for most of us guys. And, your wife essentially starts to feel like your mother. That's not sexy.
It's that saying, isn't it? One of my friends, when he got married, said, she completes me. And it was like, she can't complete you. You've got to be whole when you arrive in front of her, And okay. So I might have to take over for a minute. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I agree with you. For those who are listening, I was taking a drink as soon as you said that. I did a sauna session before this, so I'm rehydrating myself.
I was thinking, I am generally a funny guy, but that wasn't that funny what I just said. I thought you were laughing.
I wasn't laughing, but it was. You hear it all the time, right? Mm. And the thing about that is, I would 10 years ago when I got married, or 10 years ago, it's not when I got married, but 10 years ago, I wouldn't have thought there was anything wrong with that. Because that's what the movies are. You complete me. Mm-hmm. But now that I know that's the worst thing to go into a marriage with, the worst thing to go into anything with. You and me in this example, I get to complete myself first. I get to show up in my marriage as a whole person and then add to my wife. And she can add to me too. But if I show up whole, now we have this third entity called our relationship that can really flourish. And that's the difference.
Yeah, that is the difference. And like we spoke about in a previous podcast, there's a lot of programs out there helping men to become a better version of themselves. But then the next step is, like you say, you create that third bubble between you, the world that you both live in together. And that's one of the major pieces that we help men figure out in their puzzle.
It's exactly what it is. And, most guys, I would say most guys listening to this have some sense or have had some sense of knowing there's more for them, and they just don't know how to access it. They're reading books, they're listening to podcasts like this. And that's what the activation method program is exactly about. Is we call it, in that state, which I was in and you were in, Franco, you're deactivated. The activation method is specifically designed to reactivate you. The alpha reset is to reset the alpha inside of you and bring him out, right? So it's very specific on how these are designed through time to help men. And so when you show up in this sense with your wife being your best friend, and yet you're not even really being a fun friend, like a great friend, like the fun guy, you start to be the downer, right? So many men fall into this situation. I did. You start to be the downer, right? Oh, I don't know. I don't want to go out. Oh, I don't want to do this. You're no longer the fun, like happy, chippy. Not that you have to be that all the time, but you're not leading the relationship. You become a weight in the relationship, and who wants to have sex with a weight? I mean, come on.
Yeah. And that's it. Like, there are definite commonalities, aren't there? Like you say, between male friends and the friendship you want to have with your partner. And if you're not bringing the fun, If you're angry all the time, that's another one, isn't it? You know, we speak to a lot of guys who their wives just say he's angry, or he's got a drinking problem, and he's a bit volatile. So, you know, that's hard for her then to open up as in a friendship. But one of the things I was going to add in is that the paradox is that for the guys who are complaining that they're not best friends with their partner or their wife, and I was one of them, is that when you have an amazing connection, and when you are the leader of the relationship, and she feels completely safe, and she trusts you, and she wants to follow you, all of a sudden she will do anything for you. She is your best friend. You know what I mean? She is the person you can tell anything, you know, and so it's a paradox, isn't it? Because all the things that we say, you know, don't be this, don't be that. All of a sudden, when the connection and the leadership is there, and you've wiped the slate clean, so there's no resentment. Yeah, you can kind of break all the rules, and you kind of got whatever you want the relationship to be almost at any moment. I'm not saying that it's always perfect, but what I'm saying is that it's all there for you to create. Yes. And all there for you to express yourself fully, and for her to express herself fully, which is where, you know, one of the distinctions I would say between best friends and people who aren't best friends, you know, just friends or acquaintances.
No, that's a very good point, man. and I don't want to make it sound like maybe I was that you can't have this relationship in this marriage where you can tell your wife everything, because you can, right? It's just, you can't do it from a state of neediness, and you can't do it from a state of you trying to have your wife fill you up, really.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of guys that if you said to them, just own it, okay, just be honest and own it, right? The problem is they could be honest, but they couldn't own it.
Yeah.
And they can't own it because they're not fully activated. They can't just say something and look her in the eye and for her to believe that, yeah, he's owning it, you know. But do you see
most guys just don't know. They don't know. One is they don't know they're not activated. That's one. They know something's missing. They know they're not happy. They don't know they're not activated. And this is something, I mean, I'm sure you see this all the time, Franco. I do all the time when I go out to barbecues or things for like kids events, right? Because when I'm going to, when you have children, you go to events, and they're not people you necessarily hang out with all the time, but it's like your kids' friends. And so, you know, you see it all in the men. You can just see deactivated men everywhere. And there's rare you can run into a guy that's been activated, right? Now, maybe he went through another program. Maybe he's just naturally that way. Maybe something happened. You don't know. But those guys are like magnets. And you just see them. You kind of look at them. You give them a smile. And you're like, boom, I'm going to go talk to you. We're going to hang out, right? And that's who you get attracted to immediately. And the other guys follow around and do that kind of deal. But they're just deactivated. And I feel for them because I just didn't know. There wasn't anything else at the time, at least that I didn't knew about. There was nothing else in existence. I tried other programs. I tried all kinds of things. And I would show up to the barbecue as a deactivated guy, just knowing there was something different, which would piss me off, make me sad because I didn't know how to get it, didn't know how to get there. And yeah, it was just something was missing. And I took that to my relationships, which didn't make them stronger for sure, and made things harder. So I would say in retrospect for me, Franco, when I look back at that time for me, it would have been better served for me to double down on my friendships and or create new ones with men who were a step or two ahead of me in that area. I was still playing competitive sports, so I did it somewhat through sport. But when I stopped playing in my mid to late 30s, that was a huge gap for me, as it is for most men when they stop playing sports. Because then it's how do you find other guys like you? I mean, how do I find the sexiest man in Wales, be able to talk to him without the powerful man? There's no way I could have done that.
Exactly. I thought Tom Jones was the sexiest man in Wales, but you know, he can't go on forever, can he? You know.
But in all seriousness, guys, when you're looking at this, and you know, for most of you guys listening to this, your wife was your best friend at one point. Maybe she still is. And something's happened, right? There's been a transition there. And oftentimes what that is when we aren't filling our own cup up, and we go to our wife to fill our needs, right? To fill our cup.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about when you're sick, when you're down. We all have those moments, right? And that's when a partner can pick you up, a friend can pick you up. But you want to have a diversity of friends, right? Actually, some guy friends, some
That's
men
a
that you can
really
talk to.
very important point. That because we evolved as a species, growing up in tribes, villages, or whatever, where the parents didn't even bring the kids up, did they? It was the grandparents and the whole village bringing the kids up. So we had help with everything.
Yep.
And it certainly wasn't one other person we dumped all of our problems on and expectations on.
Yeah. Well, it's just crazy. I mean, so a lot of you guys don't live near family, and the family you do live near, you don't actually enjoy. And a lot of times it's because all the men are deactivated as well. Maybe your grandfather, isn't, or something along those lines, but usually it's pretty generational from my experience dealing with thousands of men at this point. And it really requires you getting activated, which will free your wife from these bonds and of trying to maintain everything.
Yeah.
And my guess is she's tired of it, right? And that's the thing women often talk about. They're just tired. They're taking care of the kids. Now they got to take care of you. You just become another kid to them, right? You become another beast of burden, so to speak. They love you.
And that's why she can't be best friends with you.
Yeah. And now
because the dynamics are all wrong.
And hence the paradox, as you mentioned. So, guys, it's up to us. One of the most common things, men, that we hear from guys as they're going through the activation method, I'm going to kind of spill the beans here, Franco, is they realize there's one common denominator in all their relationship problems and all the issues that they're facing in their personal lives. And that's them. That's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of us. It really is. And these are amazing men. They didn't connect the dots the way that you could. And we always say at the Powerful Man, because we have several events, is once it's seen, you can never unsee it. Clarity is power. You would never run a business without looking at your optics. You just can't. You can't run a successful company without knowing the finances, without knowing the KPIs or OKRs or whatever you do in your business. And you can't run your life without having optics on how your life is running. And one of those important things is to have men like Franco, right, is a mirror for me, right? Franco's going to call me out. I can come to Franco for advice. I come for insights. There's no lone wolfing it. And your wife can't be expected to provide all that for you. That's just too much burden for one person. It really is.
And same works the other way too.
Absolutely.
That's why she needs good people around her to support her. And that's why it's so important to get that right, or help her get that right.
Yep. I agree. Franco, as always, you bring great questions to the table, my friend. Love having you on the show. I know the guys love seeing you in the Facebook group. Gentlemen, if you haven't already, if you're in the Facebook group, give Franco a shout. He's always very active in there. He's coaching the men left, right, and center. Also the men that are currently in an alumni group. Franco is just a rock to go to and always a fun guy to spend some time with. So Franco, as always, thank you so much for being here with us and for the men. Thank you. Great to be here as always. Gentlemen, that's a wrap for us at the Powerful Man Show. Head over to the Facebook group. I'd love to see what you think. I'm going to post that Chris Rock little clip in there. Just put a little comment. Do you agree or disagree with what Franco and I are talking about? And there's no right or wrong per se, but let's start a dialogue. Guys, keep growing. And as always, in the moment of insight, take some action. We'll see you next time on the Powerful Man Show.